Lydia is a student in Harvard, and she decided to apply for an internship, and you ended up with us in Niedstraße in Projektwerkstatt. Let's know a bit about your interest in entrepreneurship. What made you look for Germany? Because America is, of course, the so-called country of entrepreneurship.
Well, I'm actually a student in sociology and global health policy, so I don't know much about entrepreneurship. But my interest mainly stems in social entrepreneurship, which is really promoted at Harvard. And so I knew that Berlin was sort of this really active startup community. And I wanted to just learn more about it in a traditional sense and from your approach, and sort of explore what the community was like in Berlin versus in America. Yeah.
So Harvard is a famous name, and particularly in economics. Mm-hmm. How did you come to this idea to go to Germany? You don't speak German, you speak a little bit now, but basically you had no knowledge in German language. So it's the famous word of Berlin that spreads, or what did you make to come to Berlin?
I think there's sort of a stereotype right now that in America entrepreneurship is very risky and in Europe not so much. And I sort of wanted to see how true that was. I'm very used to, many of my friends are involved in the Silicon Valley scene and the technology there, but how is it happening in Berlin? Are people really sort of going beyond the bounds of what traditionally is entrepreneurship here? And yeah, so I just really wanted to see what were people moving more towards. Are they mostly forming on an international scale or within Germany? Are businesses looking at large approaches or small-time approaches? So just sort of wanted to compare that.
So you look at it with an eye of a sociologist,
yeah, I guess
basically,
so.
And try to understand
exactly.
what entrepreneurship is in comparison in these two cultures.
Right.
Yes. And what did you find out?
I found that, well, as a sociologist, I suppose, the startup community here is much more vibrant than I was expecting and much more international. Every day there's some sort of startup event happening, and you can go and meet other entrepreneurs or programmers. And it's very easy, I think, in this community to find what you need. And people are also very open to expanding their own ideas and their own projects, which is really nice to see. Through their interactions with other entrepreneurs and other artists and just creative people in general, I feel like entrepreneurs here, your ideas are constantly changing and sort of molding to not only the environment, but the needs of people around you in your society, which is really just refreshing. People aren't sort of just stuck on one idea or one passion.
Yeah. You could observe that. How can you find out what is the basics of your observation? Right. You talk to the people, or you just watch them?
I think it's mainly talking with other people, and as well as sort of listening in on conversations. Someone automatically sort of introduces themselves and gives you the business card and goes through that process. But in having a conversation, you can sort of see the gears moving in their minds and seeing how if you bring up a point that maybe a different approach would be better, or adding some sort of facet to their idea, you see how in their mind everything sort of comes together like a puzzle, which is really interesting.
What I would expect from my knowledge, small knowledge of Harvard or Babson or these places, is that we Germans are more tuning in with the customers and not so much on technology. Would you confirm that?
I don't know. I actually find that might be more of a traditional way of thinking, especially in sort of going to more technology-based startup events around the community. I think with the innovation that's happening not only in the United States but in Germany as well, people are sort of bringing all of this together. And yes, you are looking at your customers and what they need and their desires, but as well as how is it fitting in an overall community of entrepreneurship globally. Yeah, I don't know if that quite answered.
All right. That's Berlin. If you compare it with Harvard, there's a vibrant scene in Harvard as well for entrepreneurship.
I think it's certainly growing at Harvard. I think most people enter Harvard, and this is speaking from the undergraduate experience. I'm still in the college, but students arrive at Harvard not exactly knowing what they want to do and never thinking that they want to start a business. But it's within our curriculum and within our classes that it sort of naturally comes out. You can see here, this is an example of our introductory computer science class. Students enter this class knowing nothing about computer science, and they come out knowing how to program in 6 different languages. And so as their final project, the only requirement is to create something completely original, a program, an app, a game, anything that they desire. And so they have events like this, which are held at Microsoft, and students will program for 18 hours straight in this confined space. And the reason they do this is to sort of get those creative juices flowing. Even if they're working on a project by themselves, they get to interact with other students, expand their ideas. And even though this is just a final project for class, many of these students will develop these programs into something capable for anyone to use in a few months. So you could find many of their products, you know, on your iPhone or your Android. So it's within the classroom, it's sort of these projects and just experiences that students have that sort of push them to become natural entrepreneurs. Which is really exciting, yeah.
So it's, I understand it's not so much on lecturing entrepreneurship, right, but on letting them flow freely with their ideas.
Exactly. We don't have a specific entrepreneurship major. The closest thing you'll find to a business major is economics at Harvard at the undergraduate level. So it's sort of any discipline that you're in. It could be sociology, it could be biology, it could be any, you know, art history. You're given the opportunity in some way to become your own entrepreneur and explore your own ideas. We also have the and this is an example, as the students show their final projects, they have a giant fair where they show what they've done. And this is open to anyone. So obviously you have students looking at other students' projects, but you also have people from other universities. You have venture capitalists, you have investors. So this is sort of the start that people get that rush of what's going on, what can I do, and how can I make more of my time here. And one way is through the Harvard Innovation Lab. So this is sort of our version of our incubator, entrepreneurship, breeding ground, as you will. It's open space for students to create their own teams, their own projects, for them to attend lectures on entrepreneurship, for them to showcase their work to investors and develop their own ideas. And I have a short clip. We have time to share that. So one of the things that the Innovation Lab does is it really brings together students from all over Harvard, not just undergraduates within the college, but also within the business school, medical school, design, divinity, Kennedy. There's a bunch of them. And it gives them the opportunity to sort of share their ideas together in a cross-pollination. So I, as an undergraduate, may be able to interact with a medical student in the medical school and with a business student and create something beyond what you ever imagined. And they also take trips to places like the Silicon Valley, and you'll see like sort of the idea behind the Innovation Lab in this clip, if I can play it.
This week we brought out students from across the university. There's 18 MBAs who are here, and 18 people, predominantly undergrads, but also a couple students from the ed school, from the design school, 2 PhD students, so a great mix of students from the university.
There's a lot of things that are happening in this university as both Nathan at the MBA program, Drew Faust at the president, pushing for this university to continue to knit together some of the great excellence that's been developed within individual schools and say where are there areas that we can stitch together and actually create synergy.
So we've been out all week. The idea is to get smart about startup process. So a bunch of companies, a bunch of meetings with investors. We bring people in.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to Facebook! Alright guys, so we're going to give you a little bit of information on Yelp. So first, they were founded in 2004. These are 2 guys who came from K-Town.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I am a junior at the college studying economics. And the thing I'm most interested in is like the conception of the idea, how it came about, as well as how you actually gathered your co-founders around you and how your skills complement each other.
engineers, designers from that side, operations team. One of the cool things about Inflection is we do everything in-house. So all the different teams, a lot of companies outsource, are all here.
This balance between the art and the science of investing, how do you sort of debrief and reflect when your assumptions don't pan out the company's this? So we should do that.
So on this trip, there's not only undergraduate students, there's business students, design students, and it's really just the opportunity for people to explore, expand their ideas, and really get perspectives from outside their normal realm, and grow from that.
Yeah. I understand the one thing that is in the forefront is it should be a genuine new idea, an innovative idea, whatever it is, but it should be innovative.
Not necessarily, I would say. The push really right now is something that can give back to the society. So there is a huge push for social entrepreneurship. Innovative in that it's not developing based off something that's already existing, yes. But it doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of new technology or new invention altogether.
Yeah. But that's basically what we try to make people understand here as well, that it's not technology, then you can get the technology from outside or as a team member or as a component. It's basically to create a new idea.
Right, and as you also teach, if I can go back here, the idea is really the most important part. It's not exactly the resources that you have or your business plan that's the most important thing. It's how well thought is your idea. And in that way, Harvard provides these resources which allows you to develop your own team and develop your idea and pushes you to develop it to the most that you can. And then from there, you see what you can have resource-wise. We have the President's Challenge, which is run through the Innovation Lab. And that is a group challenge. There's several steps. And if you win the challenge, then you receive $100,000 in grants. So it's opportunities like that. And we have another innovation challenge. The first prize is $50,000. The Dell Social Innovation Challenge, a Harvard team won, which is also $50,000. And then we have things like Kickstarter. This is one of my friends who's developing her own import-export fruit service. And so she receives funding through Kickstarter. So the main idea is that even if you don't have the resources right now, you can develop your idea and create a business plan or create this program that suits your needs, your consumers' needs, society's needs, and if it's developed well enough, then you can find the resources.
Thanks for that presentation, though we have an idea that we are not so far different from Harvard as people may think. Thank you very much.
No problem.